that had rights were white men, correct? With property, white men who own property.
I think it's time we have a little chat about Christian nationalism. Hi, I'm Katie McDonald, the founder of Build the Matriarchy. I want to share this from my actual lived experience. I grew up in the Christian world. My parents were in ministry. They were missionaries before I was born. Then my dad was a pastor. Later, my mom was a pastor. And honestly, they would have been perceived by a lot of very fundamentalist Christians as very progressive over the fact that my mom was allowed to pastor men, not just women. So she was a co-pastor with my dad in the last years of her life before she passed away from cancer. And yet, I fully understand Christian nationalism, and I want to talk about why it is a problem, and we're never going to talk these people out of thinking the way that they do. A lot of times we look at their behavior, the way they're trying to influence law and legislate certain behaviors. We look at that as just purely racist or misogynistic or, paternalistic or patriarchy in play. And those things can also be true. But fundamentally, the problem here is that they see the world through a particular, very traditional Christian lens, which is that men, white men in particular, but men in general, are supposed to be superior to women in their worldview. And they don't look at that as a negative thing. They don't look at it as an oppressive thing. They truly believe it's God's design for the world. So when they impose or want to impose these kinds of laws that regulate women and their bodies, they believe 100% that they are doing the right thing for women. They truly believe they are protecting women. They think they're protecting families and the Christian way. They don't think, oh, joy, I want to oppress women. Oh, how fun for me to lord it over the opposite sex. No, they genuinely believe this is God's way. That's why this is so hard to combat, because you really have to have your own internal awakening to understand that that's bonkers. And they aren't going to have that by just us talking to them. That's why I'm shifting my focus away from smashing the patriarchy to building the matriarchy. I think the only way we're going to succeed in moving our culture in a new direction is to stop fighting this insidious craziness that is the patriarchy, specifically Christian nationalist patriarchy, and really instead show a new way by doing a new way right alongside, parallel to their wacky way of doing things. That's why I want people to join me in this movement of building the matriarchy. And over the next several videos, I hope to expound on what I mean by that. What am I really trying to accomplish here? And I think I want it to be a positive movement instead of a negative movement. I want it to be something we are actively building and living out and creating resources and community, rather than just fighting against this behemoth that is patriarchy and specifically Christian nationalism. If any Christian has ever said to you, just because I voted for Trump doesn't mean I'm a Christian nationalist, but they're a Christian, the question I want you to ask them is, do you think this was supposed to be a Christian nation? Do you believe America was founded as a Christian nation, and that we should return to being a Christian nation? If their answer is yes, then they are in fact a Christian nationalist. That's what that is a person who believes that America was always a Christian nation, has veered away from that path, and needs to be corrected and brought back to being a Christian nation. All of that is false. More than half, or close to half, of the signers of the Declaration of Independence didn't even associate with anything Christian in their personal life. The other half had some loose affiliations with being Christians, or were Christian in name only, Some of them were, actual Bible-believing, church-attending Christians, but a lot of them were just sort of like how a lot of people call themselves Christians today. They're not necessarily followers of Jesus. But regardless, this was never a Christian nation. All it was a group of people who didn't want to be ruled by King George anymore. They wanted to govern themselves. And they wanted the freedom when they first came as pilgrims and they first came just to colonize the colonies. They were escaping the persecution of a country that had an established state religion. So it was the fleeing from the very thing they're trying to create now, which is a state established religion. So this was never a Christian country. It was just a country trying to be free. That's it. So there's nothing to go back to. Anyway, I'm kind of all over the place with this video, but I just wanted to touch on that. And this video that I've stitched kind of inspired that. We're never going to be able to talk them out of their patriarchy. I think the only way is to show people a new way, to show them a different way, and show them how much more compelling and peaceful and hopeful and inclusive and collaborative the world could be.